Everybody, happy Friday. We made it. Hope everyone's doing fantastic this afternoon or evening or morning, wherever the hell you are in this world. I am here with a very special guest today, the man, the myth, the legend, RHMax. RHMax, how you doing today? How's everything?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just been super bullish this week. A lot of stuff, we'll talk about too, as far as crypto regulations and ETH ETF and all that stuff too. And PulseChain it's alive. It's still there. There are 50,000 validators. It's doing good though. But yeah, man, I've been excited. I think since Monday, had a stream with Crypto Calling Monday, and that's when the ETF stuff started coming out, and everything's just been this upward momentum. I don't know. It feels good. It feels good for a change to have something to talk about.
Yeah, no, my nipples have been quivering with excitement myself with what I've seen. So, and that actually leads me to my first question to you. Because obviously, you brought up the ETH ETF, which I don't think any of us thought would happen so quickly. So now that the ETH ETF has been approved, why is this not only a benefit for Ethereum, but all EVM chains, including PulseChain?
Well, I think it just going back to, we really didn't expect it to happen. That was cool. And that was definitely a turnaround that maybe hopefully signaled some better, more friendly atmosphere for crypto in general. And then I think, people just want to make money. It's one of those, if you look at the different cycles and stuff, I think people are, ready for a type of bull market. And it's been a while. So, you could do all the TA and look at all the cycles and charts and stuff, but in general, just at least in this country, I feel like, it'd be nice to, other than the S&P, the S&P 500 has been not doing too bad, but it's like, crypto, when crypto back. And kind of earlier this year, we're like, maybe things are going okay. But now that the ETH ETF has been approved, not trading yet though. That's the big question too. Like, when does it start trading? Is it a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now? Bitcoin ETF was pretty quick. It was, I think, within a week or two. So will it be that quick? I don't know. You have some big players in. I don't know why it wouldn't be. And then what does that do to the price? If that's good for Ethereum, a lot of people think PulseChain is leverage on Ethereum. Maybe other chains, every other alt, could be leverage on Ethereum. We kind of got this dynamic where it feels like Bitcoin is doing its thing. And then, if crypto in general is doing good, maybe that brings alts up. But Ethereum is like the leader of the alts type of deal. So when it's doing good, is it kind of one of those boat rising tide lifts all ships type of thing? Yeah, there's a lot of things going on with it. I think, if nothing else, I don't know. There's a couple different directions. One direction is, if you look at the ratio between ETH and PLS, I mean, it's just been like, why do you look at ratios? Why do you look at things over time? One reason is to be like, should I bought this or should I bought that? Why not just buy ETH if the other thing I'm going to buy isn't going to outperform it by, however many X. So a lot of people came into PulseChain. And of course, if it's, if you believe the early Ethereum narrative, that would imply, there could be a lot more X's than just buying Ethereum. Mm-hmm. However, Ethereum has went up a lot in the last couple of years, especially in the last few months or so, or however long it has been. And then PulseChain went up a lot and went down, went up a lot and went down. So that ratio is something where you're kind of expecting. A lot of people were like, "Hey, I'm buying this thing for the opposite. I'm buying it because I want leverage on other chains. I want leverage on crypto, maybe leverage on ETH. Maybe that's PulseChain, faster, cheaper, early Ethereum type of thing." So I think. So that's one part. So just the kind of like fundamentals around it. And then we have whales. We have ETH whales who appear on chain to have done nice things or appear to have signaled in some way they like PulseChain, whether it's Godwell, whether it's SAC address, all that stuff too. We have a ton of, talking money getting last night, 300,000 Ethereum between just a couple whales. So if Ethereum does well, maybe the play is like, okay, let's take that Ethereum and do something with it. Maybe they want to invest in PulseChain. Maybe they want to, support projects on there or otherwise put money into the ecosystem. So what does that do? What does that signal to people? If they see green candles, they want to join in. Is everyone kind of waiting on that? Like everyone's like, why is the PulseChain going up? Well, what good news, what signal have people got to put a bunch of money in where they where they think they're going to get a lot of returns. What has that been? Apparently not enough, because we haven't mooned yet.
No, I agree 100%. I think it's very important to look at this from a perspective. Like, I go back and forth on this, like, because for the last 2 years, I've been like ridiculed and not ridiculed, not just me, but many people who have said, like, the whole expectations of thing is kind of like there's a lot of people who have expectations and there's people who don't have expectations. I don't want to speak for everyone, but like now with the SAC address having all this Ethereum, my fear is that there's an over reliancy right now on the SAC address to pump our bags, and I haven't heard enough discussion on what if that doesn't happen and how do we grow this chain. But from an optimistic standpoint, it still is very good that we have a lot of ETH whales, like you said, that could say, you know what, we want to put our assets into a chain right now that really hasn't moved in valuation and the core tickers thereof, because the biggest onboarder is not community, it's not developers, unfortunately, and these would be the two things I would think, we would hope, and it's not outreach, it's green candles. That's the biggest onboarder. It just is. So I'm hoping that type of Ethereum paradigm shift will allow for Ethereum whales to look at this EVM chain that has stayed in the top 15 on Dex Screener, to actually bridge over and say, you know what, this may be a good idea. I'm hoping that we may get a listing on Kraken, or Binance, even if it's just ink. It's a good start. I've been saying that, this for a while, and we'll talk about that later on. But now I want to ask you a question. Probably the biggest thing I've ever heard in cryptocurrency, this dwarfs everything that has happened, in my opinion, is the House has passed a bill banning the Federal Reserve from issuing a CBDC. Now, this is massive because I have no trust in the state whatsoever. I have no trust in most institutions in the United States. It's very difficult to be a patriot, even though it's difficult to be a patriot in this day and age, but I stand by the country, not the government. So I do love my country. And I do want to ask you then, because of the fact that, this is very surprising. You'd think a draconian, despotic government would welcome a CBDC. So I guess, the question I want to ask you is, why is this so important, not only for the future of blockchain, but American economics as well?
It's definitely one of those, for the last couple of years, we've seen them talk about, the Fed's talked about, hey, we're going to do trials with CBDCs. We're testing it out. Nothing imminent, but it's kind of like, hey, we're testing out, see if it would work, or, if whatever use case they would have to change over the system to work with that kind of thing rather than what we have today. So I've been watching them just basically talk about it for a while. And if you think about how, privacy and, freedom and stuff has just been, less and less of it each time we get new laws, or for the most part, there's certain things that, stripped away, and it sucks. Again, pragmatic libertarian here. Like I definitely don't like to see that. It's been a big debate in the AI thing of like, like how it's almost like the how do we advance technology without giving up some privacy? That sucks. There's some trade-offs there. I'm kind of sympathetic on both sides on that, though, because as a technology person, I want to see technology advance, but also as a libertarian, I'm like, no, I want personal freedom. I want privacy. I don't want things to erode that.
Agreed.
So I've been seeing them talk about it for a while, and it almost felt like, of course it's inevitable. Of course they're going to go to it eventually. And then I think recently there's just been this, I don't know, maybe for once, in a while, this coalition of pro crypto people have started getting some wins. You got, was it Cynthia Lummis? I forget the other people. Yeah, the other people in the House too. The guy that was on the TV the other day, Patrick McHenry, people like that. I don't know. It seems like there's this rallying cry of, hey, this is enough. They're pushing too far. This is costing people money, costing people freedom, costing people it's a weird thing that the government even, it's this thing where crypto enables, freedom, and enables you to transact without people in the government can't touch it, all that stuff. And then there's also it creates all this value. And all that stuff could be taxed too. All that stuff could be, made valuable and could make the country better. I think it's just been this balancing act of like, what do we allow people to not participate in the dollar system? How much do we allow that?
Of course.
versus, hey, people could make a lot of dollars with this new tech, and if we ban it here or aren't friendly with it or whatever, then we're just giving away our advantage that we could have, because if you believe we have the best people here working on it, or the people who are able to be the most productive with it, and we attract people from all over the world to come here and do their best work, create technology, create value, create money. Like, what are we going to do? So it seems like it's been like this very heavy-handed, like, we don't really care, not really into it, why do we need it type of thing. And now I hope the pendulum is swinging in the other direction of like,
me too.
We need competitive advantage, national security. We need to be good at crypto because national, you could even imagine like stuff like that, like going in the other direction. So I hope what's happening is we've got so much support. So we're building this, again, coalition, pro-crypto coalition, to smash the anti-crypto coalition in a fair, reasonable way. And that enables wealth creation for, from your average Joe to your, BlackRock. That enables more money, more economic opportunity, and more people to participate. And people talk about like, we have Bitcoin ETF. It's kind of, when I came into crypto too, it's more than money to me. Of course, it's like the major attractive thing is like, hey, I can make a lot of money here. This is like a better system, yield, all that stuff. But the principles of crypto and freedom and being able to transact and all that stuff, that's important to me too, and attractive. And I want to see those principles, thrive. So when I see a Bitcoin ETF, and then when I saw the Bitcoin ETF, I was like, man, that's such a big move for the industry, and for people who are relying on that to pump their bags, for example. And a lot of people want to make money, all that. But also at that point, it almost felt like crypto or Bitcoin became this, instead of money for the people, it became money for the companies now.
Yeah, corporate. Yeah.
It's like this thing of, man, I want to see the price go up. I want to see people come in. I want to, see all the value come from it. But also I feel like it's been, corporatized at that point as well. And now with Ethereum, I'm like, again, I love PulseChain. PulseChain is the chain for me, all that stuff. But Ethereum, again, it's the Mac Daddy world computer. It is the amazing innovation that, we stand on the shoulders of giants type of thing. And even though I don't use it much today because of PulseChain, thankfully, it is one of those, like, again, there's some like, attachment there to like, hey, do I want to give the world computer to corporations? Now it gets to be recycled, and yeah, the price goes up, and it's all, again, pump PulseChain bags, hopefully all that stuff too. But it's almost like, man, that struggle of like, it not being, the people's world computer anymore, it being this kind of like product now, like this corporate product. Like I wish we could go up without that. But anyways, that's fine. People say PulseChain ETF, win PulseChain ETF, win Hex ETF. I'm like, man, I don't know if I want price go up, but it would suck to have that trade-off of, if it does become corporate. And you could also say the OA, the supply and stuff, takes care of a lot of that too, where it can't came in. JP Morgan can't come in and take over the network or take over the coin and stuff too. There are some protections in place, but it almost feels like once they get so big where there's ETFs, I'm just less interested in it as a tool for freedoms, and more of like, well, it's good for the broader ecosystem, I guess, but you kind of give up that kind of thing with it as well.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think that there was a zeitgeist that existed in cryptocurrency in the beginning, that the government would never get involved. But I think that was kind of an unfortunately naive perspective to think that an asset class that could challenge the pre-existing economic system would not have some type of consolidation with the legacy finance system. And I understand the juxtaposition perspectives, where you want your bags to pump, and that really the only way the bags are going to pump is through retail, and the way retail comes in is through following institutions and having that institution amalgamation. But at the same time, you want that freedom of speech and privacy and anonymity. So there's that strange perspective. There's those dual perspectives that are really opposite of one another. And I ponder how this is going to allow for cryptocurrency to grow. Is this going to be a more laissez-faire system, like a quasi-capitalistic laissez-faire system with some type of regulation, or is it going to be draconian? Only time will tell. Depends, I think, on the administration that comes in, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. But I want to ask you about this because I don't know much about this. I saw it for a little bit, but I just didn't have, the time to look at it. There's other legislation that has passed the House, such as the FIT21. How does FIT21 define decentralization?
Yeah, I mean, we could pull up the doc and talk about it too in detail, but I think just briefly, it's I think is around 20%. It talks about, that was the big debate. Like, what do they mean if it's properly decentralized? So
right,
the idea would be the CFTC would have jurisdiction. I don't know what the legal term stuff for it is, but would have responsibility for regulating the properly decentralized cryptos, stuff like that. And the SEC would have everything else as far as the ones that are more centralized, just simply talking about it. So I think they defined it as 20%, but there's two different things in decentralization. Decentralization of the supply, right? Like who has the most coins? Is there a big whale that has all the coins? All that stuff. Versus decentralization of the network, like who's actually running the network? Is there 10 nodes all run by the company, or are there 50,000 validators that are spread off across all the continents? That kind of thing.
Exactly.
So that's interesting for if you think about the supply, even with PulseChain, people have been asking too. I saw the previous stream I was in, they were talking about like, what does it mean for PulseChain? If as we know, the OA has a very significant portion of the supply for Hex and PulseChain and PulseX and all that stuff. What does it mean for that? And to me, I'm not sure. Again, this is stuff that the two things we talked about, they passed the House. They haven't passed the Senate. They haven't been signed into law yet. Things could change, but even if the SEC does end up regulating, PulseChain or anything else, even if it does fall under their purview, I still think our case, we have a great chance of beating them with all the, richer stuff and the lawyers and all that. The motion to dismiss is just a work of art. Even if that, I guess it's like worst case, we just beat the SEC outright, that type of thing, because it's not security. I don't think that defines a security. That just means who gets to try and regulate it or try to, bring case against it or have anything to do with it, type of thing. Funny enough, if it does end up being more, if we make a case for PulseChain where it's clearly the network is decentralized, and as far as the holders and stuff being decentralized, first of all, how can they prove that? They don't know who the holders are. So it's not like you can say, oh, this person, this wallet is this person. You don't even know. So like, I don't even know how that's enforceable in the first place. And second of all, even if it were, like, how hard are they going to push on that? Will the final version of the bill still even talk about that? Because again, it sounds unenforceable, or it's only enforceable if, maybe they're like, oh, okay, new blockchains that launch that have pre-sales. Maybe it's only like a corporate type of thing of, if you actually do an ICO or you actually do some sort of thing like that, you have to, do some kind of KYC on that sort of thing. Maybe they try to loop that in. I'm just pure speculation, but there's no way to know who owns the coins. Even if 99% of it is in one wallet, you don't know who that wallet is. You don't know if they have anything to do with the company or not. I mean, again, like, you could speculate, but it's not like you have this proof of this person who owns the stuff on chain.
Of course.
So I think the burden of proof, it sounds like, again, as usual, should be on them to prove it's not decentralized versus us having to prove anything. We don't have to prove anything. It's on the burden of proof. It's on the people who don't think it's decentralized to come up with this stuff, generally speaking. So that's a very big piece. So you have the CBDC thing. You have there's still no stablecoin regulation that I can think of.
Yes, that I haven't seen either.
Unless, I'm not sure if FIT21, let me just type in FIT21 stablecoin real quick and see if there's any. It said it's a pretty thick bill. So
yeah, I haven't even read it. I saw something from it, but I didn't really know what it entails. I was just very focused on the CBDC and the Ethereum ETF. Those were the big things that were very enticing for me to learn about.
Yeah, I think just skimming the people covering it says it doesn't seem to be covering stablecoins in this one, but they talk about maybe it could cover there could be a stablecoin bill coming later this year.
That's what I figured. Yeah. Also,
I've heard people talk about, how long will this take to go through the Senate and all that stuff. I don't know. Like, it's.
I don't know either.
Does it? I guess the idea would be, if this doesn't happen this year, does that not pump our bags? I don't know. Like, I would say that, to me, just the fact they're talking about it and doing positive things would signal to people that, again, crypto has staying power. It's going to be around. They got more friendly about it. We'll talk about, the presidential race and stuff, how that affects it too. But it's like, yeah, it's, to me, this is a signal that, hey, there's a changing of tides as far as like wanting to work with crypto people, and we deserve it at this point, man. There's, how you suing Coinbase?
Yeah, no, it's fucking ridiculous, and like that leads me to what I want to discuss with you next, because I hate to be partisan here, I really do, but it's very evident that there is one political party, again, not all of them, and the same thing on the other side, not all of them, but there's one political party, the Republicans, that are obviously that are higher advocates for cryptocurrency. It's just obvious at this point now that the advocacy here for cryptocurrency and laissez-faire economics is the Republicans. If you look at I'm just not saying you, but if you look at who voted on yay versus nay about CBDCs, the majority of Republicans all voted yay to prevent CBDCs, and all Democrats voted, not almost all Democrats voted for nay for preventing a CBDC. So basically, the Democrats were for it, and the Republicans were against it. You're seeing Donald Trump being a huge advocate now for cryptocurrency. Now, I'm not going to let him off the fact that in 2019, he may have posted that tweet, I'm not a fan of crypto and, the hegemony of the US dollar, whatever the hell he said. But he has turned his perspective around. He has NFTs. B-Roots and others asked him questions at his dinner that basically created a whirlwind of information surrounding what Trump expects or wants in cryptocurrency. And it was very positive. You have a lot of Republicans that are very big advocates for cryptocurrency, and Democrats that are not. Elizabeth Warren building an anti-crypto army. You have Joe Biden that has been pretty hostile towards cryptocurrency. I had this conversation with Charles Hoskinson about how Cardano was created under Trump, but now there's scrutiny for cryptocurrency under Biden. So it's clear that the left right now is not advocates for cryptocurrency. So if you're still voting left right now in crypto, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. So I want to ask you, how do you think this election plays a role in the development of blockchain and the maturity of our particular industry, depending on who wins?
I think that, honestly, I'm going to take the approach, what I'm currently thinking is neither candidate really cares about crypto.
I don't think they do either. I think it's a voting ploy, but
they're reading the room.
Yes.
They're literally, in the sense of, the Trump, when he literally like read the room, didn't he? I don't know if that was a crypto event that he first kicked all this stuff off at or not. When someone's like, hey, ask him, hey, what about crypto? He's like, oh yeah, well, vote for me, crypto. That kind of thing. I think it's the ability to be like, where are we going to get these votes? What are people concerned about in the country? Again, all these poor people who want a fair chance to get rich. Like, we can only screw them over so much. We got to give them something.
I agree.
Let's bring people in, bring these groups in that do, apparently, maybe they're doing super PACs. I think Brian Armstrong's talked about that too.
Yep.
Again, starting more pro crypto funds and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. They're just reading the room to me. And of course, historically speaking, the Republicans are, we could talk about the nuance with that versus what they typically, bigger government versus smaller government.
Yeah.
But just in general, for this election itself, I think they just want the votes.
I agree.
If they need to turn on a dime, if the Democrats need to turn on a dime and stop being so unfriendly to crypto, and who knows what they'll do later on, but at least for the election, hey, we win, right? Like them two competing for crypto votes, the winners are the people, crypto should be, at least.
No, I agree with you 100%. Like I think that the right and the left really give a shit about cryptocurrency.
As much as their constituents do. I think that would be the answer. Like they care about as much as their constituents do.
Yes,
that's people who influence them, give them money, donations. Trump started like turning on crypto donations now.
Yeah, I saw he's now accepting Bitcoin and other cryptos that I saw. And even I forgot to bring up RFK Jr. Listen, I like RFK Jr. I think he's a noble man. I think he's a great person. Do I agree with a lot of his policies? Absolutely not. Do I agree with his VP pick personally? Absolutely not. But I think he's a good and noble person. And he's very, very, very pro crypto and pro Bitcoin.
I watched him. I was at the Bitcoin Miami conference last year. I watched him speak. A very powerful speech.
It was a very valuable speech. I saw a little bit of it, and he's a noble man. I would like to see him debate Trump and Biden. I really would, and I really do believe that this election, cryptocurrency plays a secondary but yet fundamental role in not in policy, but in votes. Because if you have 53, I think the last statistic was like 53 million Americans that have cryptocurrency, and the majority of them are millennials and Gen Zers, which Gen Zers at the I think the Gen Z starts in 1996 and ends in like 2010 or some shit. So the older ones are just starting now. The older ones are able to vote, and the younger ones now are starting to become teenagers and starting to realize the economic means of survival. So 53 million Americans, that's a pretty significant margin. I mean, if we looked at the 2016 election, the 2020 election, the votes were between who won were pretty negligible. So 53 million plays a big role. And let's just say, half of that 53 million votes, that plays a pivotal role in who could win the next election. Now, I want to ask you this, my last question. And guys, let me just ask you guys, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Please make sure to follow RHMax on Twitter. I have his link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. I also have that link in the description. So make sure to do that, guys. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Consider donating to the channel for super chats. It does help the channel grow. So please consider doing that. And I want to backtrack now about CeFi and DeFi. Legacy finance versus crypto finance, and the amalgamation that has happened. So what is your perspective surrounding attempting to get PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, and Inc. listed on centralized exchanges such as Kraken and Binance? I guess my main question to you is, are centralized exchanges ironically good for onboarding people into decentralized DeFi?
I don't know. It's I've had this conversation a couple times before. It's one of those, I think the longest conversation I had was a couple months ago with DIY Investing Donovan. Mm-hmm. And that was around the time we're trying to get the Maxi listing. I'm not sure what the status of that is going on, but that was a big topic back then. And I don't know. I think giving people access to buy, PulseChain and assets and stuff like that on centralized exchanges, maybe there's benefits for statistics and numbers and get us higher ranked on different sites and stuff like that. That was like the main point back then. That's maybe like a pro. Mm-hmm. The other part is, I think it really depends on the exchange.
I do agree. I do agree.
Huge difference between Binance and any other exchange, really. I agree. Anything. So there's plenty of big exchange out there. There's plenty of ones that could get us, more volume and maybe bring some more people in. But I really think, you mentioned before, the biggest onboarder is Green Candles.
Yes.
And if we're going to get people trading these coins on exchanges, I just don't see a clear path to, okay, they start buying Pulse on exchange, they start buying Hex on exchange. I don't see a clear path in them. Oh, actually, I should get MetaMask. I should install, a DeFi wallet. I should start staking. I should start, going on, because you need these wallets and stuff. You can't, from centralized exchange, you can't do yield farming, right? You need a wallet to do yield farming. You need to take them off and connect your wallet and do all the stuff like that. I mean, maybe they have some connections exchanges do, but generally speaking, you need to hold your own keys and your coins to do that. So how much does it funnel them into PulseChain? I just don't. I see some benefits, but I really don't see that many. It's more of advertising. I don't see it's purely advertising, and advertising is as good as the advertiser, right? That sort of thing. So I look at it that way. I've never been a proponent of, you can see me about how much I tweet about it, I guess. I like the community getting together to do stuff. I think some of it has higher ROI than other things. Would I be mad if we got PulseChain listed on Kraken or listed on Binance or listed on some Maxi or any other exchange? Would I be mad? No, I wouldn't be mad. It's just I just think there's getting people into DeFi. I don't think that's the straightforward path of getting them into DeFi or getting them into a network or getting them into using the products that the way, a lot of people like to use them. Maybe it's good for advertising. Maybe it can bring on some volume. Maybe you can get some, a little bit of exposure, but how much of that turns into like, what do we want to do that for? Like, what are we trying to do? Like, who are we trying to onboard, by the way, too? We're trying to onboard, everyone who's like buys a coin in an hour and sells it in the second hour. Like, are we trying to onboard people who want to make yield over years and years and years, which is what a lot of tools on PulseChain offer you, a lot of community building tools to help you be your own bank type of thing. So who are we onboarding? How effective will it be? What will they actually bring? There's a lot of different verticals there as far as ROI. So again, I wouldn't be mad if it happened, but I think hopefully we get some green candles. Hopefully we bring people in who don't need an exchange. Like, they're already educated enough in DeFi to know how to, use their wallet to connect to sites and do all that stuff. I just want the best people possible. And I don't know. I just don't think the strategy of just bring everyone in. I want 1 million, noobs in who don't know what to do with the coins they have. I don't know if that's the best strategy. So
it's a very noble point. I'll say a few things that I agree with, and then maybe my perspective as well. I agree that it really does depend on the prominence of the particular exchange. Like, if I found out that like PulseChain was listed on some unknown exchange that no one's ever heard about, that has like $1 million worth of volume at best, I'd be very prudent in seeing that. If I saw PulseChain on Kraken and Binance, where the majority of layer ones that are very, very prominent, that are traded and have more capability, because if we can be honest with one another, the majority of people in cryptocurrency, even the influencers we've seen, I don't want to name any names, but don't know how to bridge. They don't know how to use real DeFi, or they don't want to, and they only care about green candles. Now, of course, with green candles, gives someone an incentive to learn how to bridge, because how are you going to participate if you don't know how? But I think that, and I know that you're a bit more cypherpunk than I am. That makes perfect sense, and I respect that wholeheartedly. But with a centralized exchange like Binance or Kraken or Coinbase, hell, that would be the holy grail. I guess the main question is, does it necessarily matter who we onboard if those people become impassioned with a particular coin, if they make money off of it? And that's a legitimate question. And I think that it's a case-by-case basis. Like, there are some people that will be happy about the coin, sell and dip, and be happy with the profit and not give a shit about the coin. There will be some that have been in this ecosystem for years, and we've seen this plenty of times where, the people who made a shit ton of money on Hex, where the hell did half of them go? And they were interested in DeFi, and they staked their Hex. And half the people that I used to, the big ones that I used to see in 2021 and 2022 and 2023, they don't even stream anymore. They don't even post on Twitter that often anymore. And that's fine. People are in charge of their own destiny. I guess just the main question is what is the best recipe for green candles? I don't know if it's sex onboarding into decentralized DeFi. I don't know if it's just keeping the bridge. I don't know if it's making the bridge more seamless. But right now, at least from an empirical perspective, just having the bridge, even for the most well-known, the most well-adept users, I don't know if it's, I don't know why it's not working regarding price increases for the main tokens. I mean, all the other, tokens on PulseChain have done quite well. I mean, the Atropa ecosystem is doing well. The Tangang ecosystem is doing quite well. They launch a coin, numerous times, and they're doing very, very well as well. So I don't know what it is why PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, and Inc. just don't move. Is it the relation to Richard Hart right now because he's under scrutiny of the SEC? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm hoping we find one soon, and maybe we don't need centralized exchanges once this SEC case is over and PulseChain, the main PulseChain tickers, are not suppressed. Maybe you're absolutely right.
Just if you're looking for an answer why people aren't coming in, we're not onboarding a ton of, like, price isn't mooning, I think there's just people don't see a reason to come here.
Yes, I agree.
They just I mean, that's it to me. I mean, why are people bridging out? Why do we see whales come and go and leave and try to get out, selling coins and stuff? They don't see the opportunity right now. I think they will come back, I think, once they see opportunity. But right now, it's just like, what are we selling them on, right? Like the price again, it's like chicken and egg, green candles.
Yes.
You know, we need people to come in and buy stuff to get green candles, but we can't get green candles unless people buy stuff. Like they just haven't. I think people just haven't got the signal of now come in. I think when they get that signal, we'll see that, but they just haven't got it. So there's no reason to be here when other things are popping off. Like maybe if other things weren't popping off, they wouldn't feel the need to leave so quickly or all that stuff too. But just back to the centralized exchange thing too. If I were to imagine you got two people, you sit two people down at computers, and you sign one up for Kraken or any centralized exchange, and you teach the other one how to use MetaMask, how to use PulseX, how to trade and stuff like that. Let's say they have the same amount of money. They both have like 10K in their accounts.
Of course.
But that's what you give them. You show them how to use DeFi, and you show one how to use centralized exchanges. Which one do you think is more likely to become a streamer? Which one is more likely to
the first
hang on to the coin, buy stuff in the PulseChain ecosystem?
The one that participates in the DeFi, and of course, I can't disagree at all.
Which one is more likely to hang on to their coins longer when they don't see like this little there's another thing pumping over here, let me go buy it, which is on a completely different chain and has a completely different community. Which one is more likely to watch the streams and not be exposed to all the other chains? Because if you're on PulseChain, you're buying PulseChain stuff. That's what's there.
Exactly.
But if you're on an exchange, you can buy anything you want. So it's not that I don't think there's value in getting listed on centralized exchanges. I just think it's almost like not overhyped, but it's like we're kind of missing the picture of what builds a community as far as getting people so involved where they have a vested interest into sticking around and making the place better versus just trading the coin. I think that's overlooked, I guess I'll say.
No, fair point. I agree with the majority of those points anyway. So only time will tell. I just hope for green candles. So
you
guys,
and me both, man.
I think we both do. Anybody who says different are lying. So guys, or virtue signaling. Guys, make sure to follow RHMax on Twitter. I have his link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to RHMax's YouTube channel. I know he's very close to 10K subscribers. Let's get him up there. So please consider doing that. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Consider donating to the channel through Super Chats. And guys, I will see you in the next episode. RHMax, have a good weekend, brother.
Awesome. You too, man. Good to see you all.